You're 7 years old, watching your father choose adventure over family as he sails away with the red-hair pirates. A few years later, you'll watch your mother die from illness, while still believing daddy will come home someday. In the next decade, you'll learn that love means abandonment, that strength means lies, and that being brave means being terrified every single day, while pretending everything is fine. Congratulations, you've just been born as Usopp, and the next 20 years will be spent trying to become worthy of a dream that feels impossible. Oh, and those 8,000 followers you brag about, they're imaginary. Stick around as we dive into why being the Straw Hat Sniper means living as a fraud, who's desperately trying to become real. Let's start with the foundation of Usopp's pain. His father chose the sea over his family. Usopp left when Usopp was 7 years old, making the devastating choice to join Shanks' crew instead of staying to raise his son. Think about that. Usopp chose piracy over parenthood, leaving with the red-hair pirates right around the time Banchina fell ill in Syrup Village. While other kids had bedtime stories, Usopp had lies about his father's heroic return. "My dad's coming back tomorrow," he'd shout, knowing it was false but desperately needing it to be true. And here's the cruelest part. Usopp's actually successful. He's a legendary sniper with one of the most feared crews in the world, living his best life, while his son grows up fatherless. Every bounty poster, every news story about the red-hair pirates is a reminder that his dad chose adventure over him. But the real psychological torture, Usopp inherited his father's dream and talent, but none of his confidence. He's got the skills of a legendary sniper trapped in the body of a coward. Every perfect shot he makes is tainted by the knowledge that he becomes exactly like the man who destroyed his family. When his mother Banchina died, she was still expressing pride in Usopp's decision to pursue his dreams.
But I'm proud to have married such a brave man who dared to chase his dreams.
But here's the tragic irony. She died believing in the nobility of his choice, while Usopp was left to process the abandonment alone. Imagine being 7 years old, watching your mother die while she praises the man who wasn't there to help her through her illness. Now let's talk about Usopp's role in the crew. Professional liability. While his friends are fighting warlords and emperors, Usopp's getting his ass handed to him by random fodder enemies. Remember Alabasta? While Luffy's fighting Crocodile and Zoro's cutting through steel, Usopp faces the brutal duo of Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas. But here's what makes it worse. He wins through pure political genius and teamwork with Chopper. They exploit underground tunnels, use Chopper's horn transformations as a massive slingshot, and defeat enemies who should be way out of their league. It's a brilliant strategy, but everyone just sees it as barely surviving. Or how about Enies Lobby? His crew is literally declaring war on the world government. And what does Usopp do? He makes the single most important shot in the entire arc, sniping the world government flag from over a mile away as Sniper King. That flag shot was the crew's official declaration of war, but he spends most of the arc handcuffed to Zoro, unable to have a proper individual fight. Even his greatest moment feels like he's being carried by others. The most heartbreaking part? Usopp knows he's weak. He's not delusional about his strength like early Luffy. He's painfully aware that he's the weakest link, that his friends are constantly risking their lives to compensate for his inadequacy. Every battle is a reminder that he doesn't belong with these monsters. And the worst part about being weak in the One Piece world? The enemies specifically target you. Every villain immediately identifies Usopp as the weakest link, and goes straight for him. He's not just weak, he's a walking target that puts his entire crew in danger. Usopp's defining character trait isn't bravery, it's lying about bravery. And that's a special kind of psychological torture. His lies aren't malicious, they're desperate attempts to convince himself and others that he's the hero he wishes he could be. "I have 8,000 followers," he shouts, knowing damn well he's got maybe 3 kids from his village who believed his stories. Every lie is a confession of inadequacy. But here's where it gets really dark. Sometimes his lies come true, and it's terrifying. When he actually has to face strong enemies, when his bluff gets called, when his crew believes in the brave warrior he pretends to be. That's when the real nightmare begins. Remember his fight with Perona? He wins through his natural immunity to negativity and tactical thinking, proving that his unique perspective and psychological resilience are genuine strengths. But everyone treats it like proof of his growth, which just adds more pressure to live up to an image he still doubts. Tragedy is that Usopp's real talents, His creativity, his marksmanship, his tactical thinking gets overshadowed by his desperate need to seem brave. He's actually incredibly valuable to the crew, but he's so focused on being something he's not that he can't appreciate what he actually is. Water 7 showcased Usopp's deepest fear, being left behind, and tragically his reaction to that fear almost made it come true. When the crew decided to replace the Going Merry, it wasn't just about a ship for Usopp, it was about his entire sense of belonging. If they could abandon Merry, who had carried them so faithfully, what was stopping them from abandoning him when he became too much of a burden? His fight with Luffy wasn't really about the ship, it was about his terror of being discarded. Every punch he threw was fueled by years of abandonment trauma, from his father leaving to his fear that his weakness would eventually cost him his only family. And here's what makes it worse. Usopp actually put up an incredible fight. He used impact dials to absorb and reflect Luffy's attacks, set explosive traps, and employed psychological warfare. For the first time in the series, Luffy didn't smile after winning a fight. And the cruelest irony, by trying to prevent abandonment, he abandoned them first. He quit the crew, walked away from the only people who ever believed in him, because his insecurity convinced him that it was inevitable anyway. The scene where he's alone in Water 7, having lost his ship and his crew, realizing he's made the worst mistake of his life, that's rock bottom for someone whose biggest fear is being alone. He didn't just lose a fight, he lost his entire identity and purpose. Even when they reconciled, the damage was done. Usopp proved to himself that when push comes to shove, his fear can make him hurt the people he loves most. That knowledge haunts him in every subsequent crisis. Dressrosa should have been Usopp's triumph. Instead, it became his most elaborate nightmare. When he awakened observation Haki and sniped sugar from across the country, it was a moment of genuine desperate courage. He suddenly perceived Luffy and Law's aura through palace walls, calculated impossible wind conditions, and made a shot that professional snipers would call supernatural. But the aftermath? Pure psychological torture. An entire nation started worshipping him as God Usopp, and Doflamingo put a 500 million berry bounty on his head, higher than Luffy's at the time. Imagine thousands of people calling you a god when you struggle to see yourself as brave. But he's terrified he can't repeat. The worst part? He can't tell them the truth. Revealing his self-doubt would shatter their hope and his crew's reputation. So he's trapped maintaining an image bigger than anything he's ever projected. And deep down, Usopp knows that when the next crisis comes, when people are counting on God Usopp to save them, he might not be able to deliver. The weight of those expectations, the fear of letting down an entire nation, that's pressure that would crush most people. Here's something people don't talk about. Usopp's incredible accuracy comes with incredible responsibility, and it's slowly destroying him. Every shot he takes could kill someone. Every perfect aim is a reminder that he has the power to end lives from a distance. And unlike his crewmates who fight up close, Usopp has to live with the cold, calculated nature of his attacks. When he shoots someone, he has time to think about it, to aim carefully, to see their faces through his scope. That's a different kind of violence that Luffy's impulsive punches or Zoro's honorable sword fights. Usopp's attacks are premeditated, precise, and deeply personal. And his awakened observation Haki adds another layer of burden. He can now perceive danger and auras across impossible distances. In some cases, he even linked with his father Yasopp's vision across dimensions. Imagine having supernatural perception that constantly reminds you of your absent father's legendary abilities. The psychological toll of being a long-range fighter while maintaining his cheerful, anxious persona is staggering. How do you crack jokes and tell stories when you've spent the day making life-or-death shots that determine everyone's fate? Here's a cruel irony nobody talks about. Usopp is a pacifist, forced to become a weapons expert. While other crew members fight with natural abilities or inherited techniques, Usopp has to engineer new ways to hurt people. Early inventions in his workshop tell a story of trauma. The Kabuto slingshot? Built because his father's abandonment taught him that distance equals safety. The pop greens, cultivated during 2 years of literal hell on a man-eating island, where creativity meant survival. The various ammunition types, exploding stars, impact stars, smoke stars, each one represents a different fear he had to weaponize. But here's what makes it worse. Usopp's greatest inventions come from his deepest pain. He created the Climatact for Nami, because he understands what it's like to feel powerless. Every upgrade he makes to his own weapons is motivated by the memory of being too weak to save someone he cares about. The saddest part? His inventive genius is constantly overshadowed by everyone else's cooler abilities. While people marvel at Frankie's cyborg modifications or Chopper's transformations, Usopp's tactical innovations get treated as comic relief. He literally engineers solutions to impossible problems, but because he's scared while doing it, nobody recognizes the brilliance. Let's talk about something that gets overlooked. Usopp is fundamentally human in a crew of superhuman freaks, and that gap is killing him slowly. Luffy can stretch and tank massive damage. Zoro can cut through steel with pure willpower. Sanji can light himself on fire and fly. Chopper can transform into a monster. Robin can sprout body parts anywhere. Frankie is a cyborg. Brook is literally undead. Even Nami has Zeus now. And Usopp? He's just a guy with good aim and anxiety disorders. Every power-up his crewmates get makes the gap wider. When Luffy learned second gear, when Zoro mastered Ashura, when Sanji got his genetic awakening, each moment of their growth is a reminder that Usopp's ceiling is so much lower. He can't train his way to superhuman strength or unlock hidden bloodlines. His limits are human limits. The psychological toll of constantly comparing himself to literal monsters is devastating. When Luffy casually destroys buildings or Zoro cuts through mountains, what's Usopp supposed to think? That his perfectly aimed slingshot shots are impressive by comparison? But here's the cruelest part. The crew needs him to stay human. They need someone who understands normal people's fears, who can relate to civilians, who remember what it's like to be powerless. But being the crew's humanity anchor means he can never truly grow beyond his human limitations, without losing what makes him valuable. Everyone forgets that Usopp was Syrup Village's defender long before he met the Straw Hats, and that responsibility never really went away. It just got exponentially bigger. Those three kids, Carrot, Pepper, and Onion, they weren't just his audience, they were his first crew. He told them stories not just to entertain, but to teach them that heroes exist, that someone would always protect them. When Kuro attacked, Usopp realized that sometimes the only hero available is a scared kid with a slingshot. But here's the tragedy. Succeeding at Syrup Village created an impossible standard. Those kids believed in Captain Usopp so completely that he became trapped in that identity. Every lie he told them came true through sheer desperate necessity, creating a pattern where Usopp's biggest lies became his most crushing responsibilities. Now multiply that by the entire world. Every island they visit, every person they save, every time someone calls him a hero. It's Syrup Village all over again, but with stakes that could affect millions. The scared kid who just wanted to tell entertaining stories is now responsible for living up to legends that span the globe. There's something fundamentally lonely about being a sniper that nobody in the crew truly understands. While his friends fight shoulder to shoulder, Usopp watches from afar, making split-second decisions that determine who lives and dies. Every battle, he has to choose: save Luffy or save Chopper, protect Nami or cover Zoro's retreat. His observation haki makes it worse. He can sense everyone's condition simultaneously, feeling their pain and desperation, while being too far away to offer comfort. He's emotionally connected to their suffering, but physically isolated from their support. The worst moments are when he has a clear shot at an enemy who's about to kill his friends, but hesitates because he's still fundamentally a kid who doesn't want to kill people. Every microsecond of hesitation could cost his family their lives, but pulling that trigger means carrying another death on his conscience. Finally, let's talk about Usopp's most heartbreaking burden. He's the only Straw Hat whose dream feels impossible. Luffy will find the One Piece. Zoro will beat Mihawk. Sanji will find All Blue. Nami will map the world. Chopper will cure diseases. Robin will find the true history. Frankie will sail around the world. Brook will reunite with Laboon. But Usopp, he wants to become a brave warrior of the sea. That's not a destination you can reach or a concrete goal you can achieve. It's a state of being that he's constantly failing to attain. Every time his friends achieve milestones toward their dreams, it reminds Usopp that he's not getting any braver. Every act of cowardice, every moment of fear, every time he runs away, it's proof that he's moving further from his goal, not closer to it. The cruelest irony? Usopp performs genuinely brave acts all the time, but his self-doubt prevents him from recognizing them. He saves his crew, faces impossible odds, and sacrifices himself for others, but still sees himself as a coward. His dream isn't impossible because he's not brave. It's impossible because he can't see his own courage. So is it worth it? The constant fear, the abandonment trauma, the weight of false expectations, the undervalued genius, the impossible dream, and the daily struggle to be braver than you believe you can be? Usopp's life is a constant battle between who he is and who he thinks he should be. He's the crew's heart in a world that values strength. He's their conscience in situations that demand ruthlessness. He's their humanity in a story full of monsters and gods. But the cost is devastating. Every day is a war against his own nature. Every battle is a reminder of his inadequacy. Every victory feels like fraud, and every moment of fear confirms his deepest insecurities about himself. He doesn't just want to be brave. He needs to believe he's worthy of his friend's faith. He's not just fighting enemies. He's fighting the voice in his head that says he doesn't belong, that his father was right to leave, that his crew would be better off without him. Yet somehow, despite all the fear and self-doubt, Usopp keeps showing up. He keeps fighting battles he's terrified to face. Keeps standing up for people who can't protect themselves. Keeps believing in dreams that seem impossible. That's not just brave, that's superhuman. The boy who lies about having 8,000 followers has inspired millions of real people to face their fears. The coward who runs from fights has taught us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite being terrified. But at what cost? The sleepless nights, the constant anxiety, the weight of expectations he can never meet, the dream that feels more distant with every passing day. Usopp burns his self-esteem as fuel to keep everyone else's spirits up, and nobody, not even Usopp himself, realizes how much he's sacrificing. So after hearing all that, do you still want Usopp's life? Could you handle the constant fear, the imposter syndrome, the weight of unearned worship, and the impossible task of becoming brave enough to deserve your friend's faith? Let me know in the comments below. What's the hardest part about being Usopp in your opinion? Or do you think his journey from coward to hero makes it all worthwhile? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the sniper struggles, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more epic One Piece content, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We're breaking down another Straw Hat soon, so stay tuned. Until then, keep aiming for your dreams, face your fears with a slingshot, and remember that even God started as scared kids with big hearts.